Hi, hello, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk to some real people about some real things, living real lives, doing real stuff. This is the Working Perspectives podcast. I'm Matt Lavelle, accompanied today by the one and only Amber Stiner. Amber, how are we today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing great. Can't wait to get this thing started. So you can find all our content and all our stuff on all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. You can hang out with us on Instagram at Working Perspectives Podcast and follow us on the Twitter and the TikTok at Working P Pod. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, then please email us at workingperspectives@gmail.com. All right, let's get this thing started. Let's go.
It's all objective to be effective by voicing societies. Working perspective, exploring your day and how you get paid. Launching a new episode every Tuesday. Your day can transform while we inform with new episodes available on every platform. So check out our vibe and how we get live. Then do us a solid. Share and subscribe. We're just sharing. We're just sharing. We're just sharing. Working perspectives.
So, all right, Amber. I want to give, start off a little B block here. And I want to give the listeners a little story. So I met you, I guess we met each other, man, like 2008, maybe.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, too long, some would say. But no, yeah, we met each other in like 2008 at the old gym.
Mhm.
And we working out, hanging out there. But then eventually we would move to the location we're at now. And then your husband, then boyfriend, he was an amateur still, but he was about to go pro, right? And he was about to have his last amateur fight. And his last amateur fight was for, are we allowed to say the promotion?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was for Hellster, right? And it was at the Starland Ballroom in Jersey.
Okay.
Right? And you were 19, just about to turn 20 at the time. And you ran that card, which was like, I think it was like a 13 fight card, right?
It was a big card for the very first promotion that we were hosting. It was just, people are like, are you nuts? Because it was the very first one.
Yeah, it was a 13 fight card, right? Something like, I think it might even been more, right? And I'll tell you this, like I had been in a bunch of fights at that point, and like been like at a bunch of fights as well, like in the locker rooms there. This was the best setup and the most comfortable like pre-fight area I'd ever been in. Right.
Yeah.
Like we had like tent set up in the back. You had like, like there was blue corner, red corner, right? The blue corner had their tent, the red corner, their tent. So you weren't like, because there's times when you're at a fight and you're like in the locker room with the guy you're about to fight, like 5 minutes before.
I mean, a lot of fight promotions can be very ghetto, and we wanted to make sure that it was not ghetto. And it was well ran.
Yeah, so. It was very well ran. You had we had a feed to a TV in the tent, so we could watch our teammates fight while we're getting ready.
Right.
We had mats in the tent outside for us to warm up and train.
Yep.
Right. You had I guess like an on-site certified person. So when you wanted to do your wraps and everything like that, you didn't have to go find someone or track down the same guy. Like each tent had their own guy that could certify the wraps and their gloves. Because people don't know this. Like when you get wrapped, it has to be certified, and someone from the commission has to look at it and all that bullshit.
They have to sign off on it.
Yeah, and it takes and if the guy isn't there, it can take forever. Right. And like
especially if someone's not qualified or know what they're doing, you'll have to do the process all over again.
Yeah. And if you run out of tape in the middle and you're like, who's got extra tape? And it's like, oh my God, bro. Nightmare. Like, be a professional. So either way, we had all that on hand. We had all the extra equipment we needed. We had all the equipment there. Then you also had like refreshments, and we kind of just could like relax after the weigh-in, which you ran the weigh-in as well.
The weigh-ins are the biggest. I think that's more of a nightmare than the actual show, because you have to trust that these guys are going to make weight, do their job. And if not, you have to scrounge and figure out what you're going to do, if their opponent is going to accept the fight or not, because they don't have to.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah. they'll take pay cuts, everything like that.
God.
So,
I remember, oh my God. I don't know if you remember what I looked like, but for the people watching now, that fight I fought, I would think I was like 181 was the fight. I'm not 181 anymore, but man, I was like,
yeah, but you looked great.
Yeah.
For cutting that weight. I mean, if anyone knows me, you know, my husband used to cut down to 145 and he looked like Skeletor and it was disgusting. So
yeah,
highly do not recommend.
He would look, oh my God, I don't want to be crass, but he would look like a Holocaust victim sometimes.
Yeah.
Because he's pale too, and you see all his
oh my gosh. Yeah.
I know it's terrible to laugh at, but he had some intense cuts. But I really think too, like, think about it this way. That's 2012. And we were still cutting the old fashioned way, like plastic suits, not eating, and like just sweating everything out the last minute, like really awful stuff. Nowadays, they laugh at you. You're like, what are you, stupid? Like, you didn't plan your diet?
Now
like
every fighter basically has like a nutritionist or something like that. Like Jordan, at the end of his career, we ended up getting him high level nutritionists who work with high level athletes. To have proper weight cuts.
Yeah.
Then you didn't have that and you were basically killing yourself. And also then amateurs at the time, I don't know how it is in different states now, but you had to weigh in the same day that you were fighting.
Yeah.
Which I believe they changed that.
Thank God.
Where pro, if you're fighting pro, you would weigh in the day before.
Yep.
And then fight the next day. So you had a full day to recover.
Yeah.
So I was with Jordan and you guys the whole time where you were amateurs and you had to fight the same day you weighed in and it was like a legit nightmare.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
I remember he's going to be a guest on the show, but I remember that specific show, Padilla showed up overweight.
Oh my gosh. I mean, sorry, Michael, but that is not out of character for him to show up overweight.
Yeah. I mean, hey, he made it. He
loves his foods.
He made it though. I got, you know, respect to him because he did make it, and that's tough, like especially day of. So okay, so either way, we're at this show, right? And I think I'm like 25, maybe I'm like 26, 27 at the time. You're 19, about to turn 20. The guy I fought was like, you know, I think he was like 27 or 28. Every person there, like you were the youngest person involved with the promotion and you were running it.
Yeah, so my mom, she taught me everything that I know when it comes to running shows. And so I was always right there. I was her shadow doing these shows because she was in it well before I was, you know, dealing with my dad. And then she was dealing with the fighters long before I was. So when I got involved, it was almost, you know, it just came natural because she was the, you know, I was following her.
And you got to see the best do it. I'll tell you.
Yeah, we made sure it got done. So
no bullshit. No bullshit with your mom.
Team no bullshit.
Oh, you're Olympic medalist. No bullshit.
But no one messed with us. So.
No, hey, and I'll tell you what. Plus, too, like if you're like, also the biggest thing you would have to deal with that, besides like guys not making weight and stuff, but like from the fighters would be like they complain like freaking spoiled little kids. You know, like when do we have this? When do we have that? But there was no complaints at that because everything was like professionally run, professionally shot, like everything was so well taken care of. And you're like, honestly, I fought on a bunch of cards that were like in, you know, shitty ass boys and girls clubs and rec halls and like all that, you know, high schools and everything where it's like, it's such crap and you're like, they don't give you anything beforehand, but you really treated it like it was a professional card and it showed the difference. And like, couple guys, you know, from that thing went pro. Like a couple guys on that card went pro.
You're setting the tone for when these guys actually do go pro. So you want to make sure.
Yeah. I fought, dude. I remember I cut like last year, I cornered for one of the guys at the gym here and he fought at the ECW arena in South Philly. Jordan was there too. We cornered together. Yeah. Me, him, and Dan. And we were like in the back and like, honestly, looking back at it now, like, you know, the locker room, it is what it is. It's always the same where they're separated and like they had like a big, like at the weigh-in the day before, there was like a big thing. So they had to have like personalized security. Right. So like apparently that the day before, like one of the guys fighting, he's born and raised in South Philly. So he's an Italian, you know, he's got connections. And the guy he was fighting is like, you know, he was like this, you know, big kind of tough kid, but he was also like a huge shit talker and like all these things. And he got in his face and he was like calling him like, you know, a dago and a wop and all that stuff. And like, I can say that I'm Italian. So, but he was getting in his face and then like they had a huge brawl at the weigh-in. So they had to have like private security and this guy had to have his own like locker room, like in the locker room, like own separate room and stuff. And it was just like, to me, I'm like, oh my God, like people have to take care of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, even though like that was a very professionally run card, everything was well done, very good. No, things, yours still was so much better. Like, no, like people don't know this. Like, it's not like, especially in amateurs, after you weigh in, you're responsible for your own food and nutrition afterwards, right? It's not like but you guys had like water and stuff for us and everything, and like I think you had some fruit and everything like that.
Well, we made sure we had the proper hydration kits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we would go back there and we would see guys sneaking in like their fast food. I'm like, what are you doing? You're about to fight soon and you're gonna be like sluggish because you're eating,
Oh my God.
But eating all the fast food. So
I don't know how anyone could do that. I've told this story before, but after that specific weigh-in, because I took the fight on short notice. It was like 2.5 weeks. This isn't terribly short, right? But I made the weight and it was like a tough cut, but I made it. And then afterwards, I ate a whole box of Crustables. Oh my God.
He's one of those.
Yeah. That was, I remember Jordan looking at me like, dude, that was a mistake.
Well, Jordan used to eat a lot of, right after weigh-ins to get his sodium levels back up, a lot of Chinese food. He would just pound it down, all the Chinese food, and he would plump up because he'd be cutting weight. He'd be around like 179, 180, cutting down to 145.
He really wringed all the water out of his system. Oh yeah. That makes a lot of sense though, because there's a ton of sodium and stuff in that. So yeah. But so he would, so either way, you're absolutely right. But it's crazy to think that that's 2012, right? Where we're at now, less than 10 years later, and this has been going on for years. That type of dieting and weight cutting is like, it's archaic at this point. Like if you do that, you might as well just throw in the fight now, because there's no way you're going to be in shape and not lethargic.
Right.
It's awful. So okay. So yeah, but getting to the end of the story is I wanted to say that you, as a 19-year-old turning 20, that wasn't your only job. You were working other jobs and doing everything right. It was so impressive to see you. One, it's a very much a male-dominated field, the fighting game. It's very much a male-dominated field, but there was no question who was the boss at this fight, who ran this card, and you guys sold out. Like, it's at like, I think like 2,000, and you sold it out.
We actually got in trouble by I don't know who I guess like
Jersey,
the fire companies and stuff like that, because of the amount of people that we had. We went like over the limit. We're like, come on, like,
what's the big deal? In
case there was a fire, people had to get out. And
no, there's plenty
whatever.
of
so so we got in trouble. So we actually had to like tell people they couldn't come in, which was upsetting. But there was a lot of people. There was like,
it was packed house.
Yeah, it was
packed house. Yeah, I mean, like, think like I'd like that. Anyone now trying to pack out a house for any event, good luck. Let alone like when you're 19 turning 20. You know what I mean? That just showed too. Like, Jordan had a pretty good following, and I remember like there was a bunch of other gym guys that fought on that card too. So it was just like, I don't know, it was a great card. But very impressive. You did a great job, and can't think highly of you enough. So that was when we had the show and I talked to you about it and you agreed to come on. I was super excited because you impressed me very much with running the show and taking that on and knocking out a park. But you didn't stop there. You were very much like an entrepreneur, and also like, there's a new, like, I feel like there's new diseases and things and that people didn't know existed before and are now like in the forefront of certain things. And you are very much a spokesperson for autoimmune, right? And like very much like do a ton of research and a ton of different, like, I guess you would say like not testing, but you're trying a bunch of different things and seeing what works. And you're a big spokesperson for the autoimmune community. And I'm very excited to get into that. And plus your entrepreneurial side with your different businesses you tried and everything like that. But I wanted to start this off as we always do. And I wanted to ask, have you seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody? And if yes, what'd you think of that movie?
I've never seen that movie. I don't know what it is. I'm not a movie person. So the only show I really watch is Hell's Kitchen. I'm a huge Gordon Ramsay fan. And if I were to meet anybody, it would be him.
Nice. All right.
Or if I were to go eat anywhere, it would be him. But I would be, because of my autoimmune, he would have to make a very selective menu.
I remember too. So we had talked about this actually on a recent show. So Tito's vodka, right? Tito's vodka had been around for years and years and years, and they were kind of like middling in the pack of sales, like normal, like not. They're worldwide today, globally known, Tito's vodka, and the reason is because they put gluten free. Their vodka is gluten free, which all vodka is. But when they put that on there, that was the marketing ploy that shot them to the top.
Yep.
You know, so for you, when you're seeing like the autoimmune stuff, because I remember I was working in the service industry when gluten-free became like a massive thing, and gluten-free bakeries and gluten-free desserts and all these different things started to come into the game, which are now commonplace. But if you were the first person to have that, they were like, it was hotcakes.
It was slim pickings, or you had to make your own or figure out a way. And I still do that. I still have to make my own of a lot of things.
Well, that and you know, you're kind of, I mean, you're ready for, you know, the apocalypse with the way stuff you're doing.
I sure am.
But okay, so perfect. But yeah, so I wish Pete was here to, you know that Bohemian Rhapsody sucks and we all hate it. So very good. All right, awesome. You don't need to see that movie anyway.
I probably won't.
Yeah, good. So nice. All righty. So I want to keep this moving. So you were born in Abington, right? You grew up in Bucks County, right? You did public school K through 12, right? And then people don't know this. So right now, if you couldn't tell, we are sitting in the center of the octagon or I guess the cage, octagon, an octagon, wherever it is. Yeah. But we're in the center of the octagon at the Renzo Gracie PA Academy in Hatfield, where Amber is the sales president, right? Or marketing, whatever.
So yeah, I do all the signups. I make sure everything's ran smoothly.
You do a great job.
And my husband teaches the jujitsu classes, and my dad keeps it going behind the scenes. He's like he's the face of the whole thing. So he built it. Yeah. So
but it's a family business that you're heavily invested in, and you do a great job with, I will say. So, but either way, so we're sitting here at the Renzo Gracie PA Academy in Hatfield. So when you were coming up, like you said, your dad is the face of this place, and this is his baby because he started. How old were you when he started the gym?
I was 3. I was 3.
So you've lived your whole life in this place. My whole life
in a gym.
Yeah. And like, so even starting at a young age, you did like karate and things like that, and you were involved in this. And did you do gymnastics as well? Or
just a little bit. When it was in the Hatfield Athletic Club, it was in there.
Okay.
But I did a little bit of that, but mostly I did Shotokan karate for 12 years, something like that. Under my dad.
Nice.
Because that's when we had karate, and that faded out.
I mean, I feel like karate got a bad rap. You know what I mean? Karate is very good for certain things. It's great for like discipline and self-defense and things like that. And there's a lot of good things about karate. But when it got like dojo eyes, where there was a ton of different dojos everywhere, like that's when it kind of went downhill, I think. With like the Tiger Showmans and stuff. I mean, hey, whatever, don't knock it till you try it, right? There's nothing against them. But I just hope, like with jiu-jitsu now, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, my fear is that I don't want that to turn into the next karate.
I don't think that ever will.
I don't think so either. It's too real.
It's way too real. Much more respected. And there is way more history.
Oh, for sure.
So
yeah, and there's no also too like karate. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as much as the next guy, but there was karate everything. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a respected art form.
Yes.
That if you're gonna like Bruce Lee, he would like Jackie Chan, all those guys, they're dancing masters that do karate and all that stuff. That's not happening with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. No. Like if you don't, it's too respected and too. I mean, in UFC, it's a must-have.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
In any mixed martial arts, it's a must-have. So, okay. So you grew up in the gym, right? You also did a little bit of cheerleading and stuff like that too, right? And you ran track and everything, but basically like karate, working here and, being involved in the gym and all that stuff. Like I can only imagine as a kid here, there are some kids classes and things like that, but you must have like at some point you're like, I just don't want to go there today. Like, a lot of people get excited about the gym, but I could see it turning into like, kind of like, I wouldn't say an annoyance, but you're like, oh, the gym again.
Yeah, there were many times where my parents would have to forcefully put that uniform on, and I looked forward to. I'm very competitive. So I looked forward to the competitions and when they were coming up. But then when I was younger, when I was a kid, I didn't want to practice. Like I just wanted to go straight into the competitions.
Yeah.
So that's where they forced me to go into practice because I just didn't want to. I was here 24/7. I slept here basically, and I just needed a break. But
I mean, in hindsight, I remember like for wrestling and stuff like that, my dad would make me go to wrestling as a kid sometimes too. And looking back, I'm happy that he did.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you feel the same way sometimes.
My kids are in jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah.
So
your kids are freaking great.
They're great.
No, they are gonna be watch the hell out. They're gonna be, but we're gonna get more into it later, but they're gonna be very, I just love how you are raising them as very just self-sufficient, which is, I think it's almost like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not going to be any, well, we'll get into that. So either way, so you did some track, you did karate, you wanted to do volleyball.
I wanted to play volleyball.
Why
for
volleyball?
So long. It just seemed very active to me. And I just always loved to just like go. Like I always wanted to be in like a very athletic sport, and volleyball to me was just something that just always seemed very athletic and competitive. And that's why I loved track too, because it was one-on-one. I got that adrenaline rush.
Oh, yeah.
And I did great with track. I was a fast runner and I just loved it. So I couldn't do volleyball because we were so involved with the gym, and my friends were in cheerleading, so it was easy for me to carpool with them. So but with cheerleading, it helped me build my strength because I was a base like my whole time. So my legs are very muscular. They always were. And I actually used to be very insecure about my legs.
Really?
My whole life I was very insecure because they were so muscular.
Really?
And now I love my legs.
Yeah.
So it's something that took me a while to like appreciate, but cheerleading helped me with that. People think it's all like, cheers and stuff like that, but it helps me with it
helps. I honestly too, I'll say this and I'll scream from the rooftops. We had former guest of the show, friend of the show, Jamie Yerk was on the show, and she was a big time cheerleader as well. She did like the all-star cheer, she did team cheering and stuff like that. And, she was a base as well. And she had said the story of how she became a base is because the girl that was a base before her got her teeth knocked out when another girl came down in the back of her head, hit her face. So, when you hear stuff like that, it reminds you like cheerleading isn't for the weak at heart.
No.
It's a very athletic, and I ask any tough guy out there, get two 14-year-old girls, stand on a track in the middle of, November, and let them throw you in the air as high as they can. See how freaking tough you are then.
I had piercings come out. I had my belly button pierced at the time, the top and the bottom, and my flyer came down and slid down. It came right out. It was so bad. It got so infected.
Oh,
yeah.
God. Oh, and that was
not fun.
Yeah, that was like in the middle of a game too, or was that at a practice?
That was at practice.
All right.
That was at a practice, thankfully, but it was the day before competition. So it was a nightmare. I was in so much pain. You got to keep going.
Yeah. Hey, that's something, I feel like that's something you get from your parents. So where like fight through the pain, or like maybe not get from your parents, but like you were raised that way. It's like, hey, fight through the pain. Let's get after it. Put some dirt on it kind of thing. So very cool. All right. So you did some volleyball. You really like we said, you lived here at the gym, which is great. You did some volleyball, you did some track, or you never did volleyball, but you did cheerleading, you did track, you wanted to do volleyball, didn't happen. And then after that, you started getting into jobs early, right? Like you had, I think my first like paid job, I was 13 and I was a busboy at like an Italian restaurant, right? Yeah. So I feel like, especially for like young kids who like, there's a lot of young kids that don't want to get a job, but I was like, couldn't wait to have a job.
Right.
Because I was like, I'm like, I just wanted some freaking money, like I wanted to not have to like, ask people for shit. And like, I just wanted to be able to pay for my own stuff and like be left the hell alone. Yep. I didn't want, I was the same way. So let's talk about this. So your first job, right? You were a server, and, you were started I think you were 12 years old. Is that right?
12 years old.
Okay. But you're supposed to be a busboy, and then something happened. So kind of give us a background of that.
So I was a bus girl.
Sorry. You're a busser.
I was a busser. So I was a busser for I think like 2 or 3 days. And we were short staffed and we really needed servers.
Yeah.
So my uncle was like, put the bus pan down and start serving. He gave me a notepad, and my aunt was there with me the whole time, like, give me a notepad. And I just started serving tables. And so that was my first job, was busing for 2-3 days, and then became a server. So I was serving. I served from that point on for like 8 or 9 years. And I never went to school because I wanted to work. So I don't even know how I graduated.
Once you get a taste of that like cash, it's like.
But now with 3 kids, I'm like, all that money I made, because back then people used to tip a lot more. Like the economy was great, like it was better. Nobody.
Plus,
really,
too, you were a young kid.
Yes.
They see you, they're like, "Oh, look at this girl working hard."
I was a young girl, and I always looked older than what I was, so that helped too.
Was it like an Italian spot, a diner? Like what was it?
It was diners, and my uncle, he owned a lot of diners, so I just followed him wherever he opened up a new diner.
And you would work like the morning shift.
Oh yeah, that was the best shift. I would get there 5 a.m. Start
as like a 12, 13-year-old kid.
We'd be done at 2:00, and you make like $200-$300 a shift. So why would you want to go to school?
Yeah. So, what is school gonna teach you? You get an education. So much money. Yeah.
And then I blew it just as fast as it came in, because you're like,
I think we had talked about this during the pre-show, but the amount of money that I blew through in my like teens and 20s is absolutely criminal. Absolutely criminal, the amount of money. And I was like buying stupid stuff, like these cool posters and like stupid clothing and shoes. Oh, at one point I had 27 different pairs of Air Maxes. Yeah. Like stupid. I was like looking back at it now, they were all awesome. And I mean, they look great.
I bought a boyfriend at the time like a $2,000 guitar, and because it was just like money that was,
it's just money. I'm gonna make.
I'll just make that next week.
Yeah.
So,
well, you got to think, if you're making like $250 a shift, right, and you're working 5 days of like Monday through Friday, and that's not even counting Sunday brunch.
No, right.
Oh my God, Sunday brunch is a freaking double timer. Oh my gosh.
And my dad's like, at 13, you need to start paying your phone bill, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yeah. I'll pay it and get a new iPhone tomorrow. Who cares?
Oh, we didn't have iPhone. I had a flip phone then.
So. Oh.
iPhones weren't even a thing.
Oh,
iPhones were not even a thing.
Oh man, dude. I think.
Or like the Razor.
The Razor phone. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Former guest of the show, friend of the show, Brianna Hitchens. We did a memory lane segment with her, and hers was a Razor phone. Mm-hmm. And I was a big fan of it as well, because she's my little cousin. She's 13 years younger than me, right? And she was 6 years old and had a Razor cell phone, and I didn't have a cell phone. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the catalyst for me to get a phone. Right. And I was like, oh, this little 6-year-old has one and I don't. But so yeah, shout out to Razors. Would you, I mean, God, if you could get a Razor that functioned like a smartphone.
I told my husband, I said, I would go back to the flip phone, my very first flip phone, because these phones are they're taking over. They're great, for things, for social media. And that's what got my cake business up and going, was, social media. And, but there's some cons that come to phones, and I feel like if I had a flip phone, I probably wouldn't naturally be on it as much.
Would you also bang on someone when you ended the call, be like, fine, bye, but
you put that T9 text on and start playing Snake,
Oh man, dude, I think I was watching the movie The Departed the other day, and there's a scene in The Departed where the guy sends a text in his pocket. Yeah. Because he could, because it was the numbers.
That was me. I memorized, so I wouldn't even, I'd be under my desk in school going like that. I wouldn't even have to look at my phone.
Dude, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm. That is such a fast, I was a very fast typer on the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still? So,
probably, I haven't used a computer and I know.
Oh man, that's refreshing.
I'm a fast texter.
Yeah. So
now we have talk text. So.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah, we have everything now. Mm-hmm. So like we said, you were a server. You did that for like 8 years, right? So you started. So like, I think this speaks to your work ethic, and I feel like money is a great motivator for working hard, but you started as a busser, and you like 3 days in, they were like, look, just pick up a pen, let's go.
Mhm.
Right. And then you notice right away, you're like, oh, this is how I'm going to get some money.
Yeah.
Right. And then these people see you as like a young kid. And like it was a family spot. Right.
Yeah.
So like they must have loved it. They're like, oh, this family, they're hiring their niece and all of this. So, and you had your regulars and all of that, and you must have been raking it in there. Right. So then 8 years goes by. Did you have any other jobs while you were serving, or is it just serving?
It was just serving for that time. We, in the meantime, towards like the end of my serving, my husband and I were trying to conceive. And
Okay,
yes,
I
I was
see.
young. I was, 19, 20.
Still doesn't matter. Hey,
so-
you're a consensual adult. It doesn't, who gives a shit how old you
Yeah,
are?
like he's 6 years older than me, and we just, like I said, I was always,
You're
I guess,
old-
more mature for my age. So
I would agree.
I just wanted to, I guess, start life early.
Yeah.
And
hey, if you know this is the person you want to be with for the rest of your life, and you have a family, and you're 18 or older, then who gives a shit?
Right.
Like have as many freaking puppies as you want.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, so they told me that so long short, we did fertility for a few years, and finally became pregnant. We became pregnant with our twins.
Yeah.
And they told me that I would be very high risk, giving like my family history and stuff like that. So I stopped serving because it was a lot on my body, and immediately found a bank in town that was hiring a teller, like a bank teller.
All right.
It's like, oh, well, that wouldn't be,
That's
you're
nice.
sitting.
Yeah.
Something that I absolutely cannot stand is just sitting. But I was like, all right, well, so that's a little less high risk.
Exactly. But you weren't, and this shows like, even at that, you might have been young, but you already had the motherly instincts. Like, I don't care if I'm going to be bored as hell. This is what's best for my kids.
Best for my kids.
And they weren't even born yet. And you're already thinking like, no, this is what's best for them. And I'm fucking doing it no matter what.
Yeah. Well, that backfired.
Oh,
and it backfired because I was
just to clarify for the people listening, it didn't backfire. The kids are absolutely fine.
Yes, my kids are fine.
It wasn't the kids that it backfired. Amber, please. So she's working at a bank, and backfires the opportune word. So okay, so you're working at the bank there. How long had you been there at this time?
I was only there 3 months, and that was including the 3 weeks of training that you have to go through to be a bank teller, which is.
And nightmare.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah,
it's not for me.
So okay, go ahead. So you're there 3 months, and you're just going in like it's a normal day.
So it was a regular day. We're eating our cinnamon buns from across the street because this place makes the best cinnamon buns, and you can only get them one day a week. So it was that. I forget which day, but it was that day.
All right.
I think it was Friday. It was a Friday because we couldn't wait for the week. Yeah.
Man,
and,
you're getting ready for the weekend.
I know. So next thing you know, this guy comes in, and the teller next to me, she was our main teller.
Yeah.
And she gets a note, and it says, I have a gun. Please give me $1,000. And he even put like please in there, like please give me $1,000. $1,000. Like you're at a bank, and please give me $1,000. So we're trained, if it does say, if anything that says like you have a weapon, or if someone slides you a note, you just need to do it.
So I guess insurance covers in banks now. Like if there's a robbery, we're not putting the lives of the tellers at risk. It's just like give them the money,
give them what they want, get them out, and then
and let the cops handle it. Yeah.
So then you have your emergency call, and here the cops find him, like they lock the bank down. They find him literally right around the corner. He did have a weapon, like he did have his gun, but he just wanted his $1,000. But he was from a halfway house up the street. He had he had issues.
He had issues. Okay.
Which is why he didn't run too far. He was just sitting on a bench when they found him with his $1,000 that he was so proud about. But I'm like 3 months in, this bank gets robbed. So they lock the bank down for several hours because they have to do a full investigation. At this time, I didn't know that the guy had issues, we just know that the bank got robbed, that he had a gun, and we're panicking. So I texted my husband. I'm like, bank got robbed. And he comes with his brother, and he brings what he needed to bring to make sure I was safe.
His thoughts, your protection right away.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't give a shit who the hell's there.
And
no one's touching my wife. Yeah. Okay.
And you have to block all the windows. Like when this happens, I was only a teller for 3 months. I didn't know what, so you have to block all the windows. All the doors have to be locked. You have to be under the desk. It's like, it's crazy before the cops can even come in. Like they just have to make sure. Yeah.
Okay. So
he's gone.
Yeah. But they have to make it's a protocol safety thing.
Yeah.
Understandable.
It's like a blown out of proportion type thing. It's like, it's crazy.
It's one of those things where it's like you don't want to need it and not have it kind of. It's like you just do it to do it. And everyone. Yeah. Okay.
So we didn't, the bank usually closes at 5. We didn't end up getting out of there close to 10 o'clock after the investigation. So it was just like, it was a nightmare.
What time of day did he come in about?
It was at 3 o'clock.
So you guys were almost done on a Friday.
Yeah.
Oh,
we were almost done. Yeah. So
it
was like 7 hours that we were there for like investigation.
That's
so you know what I did? I quit.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm like, this is only 3 months in. I can only imagine, because this wasn't the first time that this bank got robbed. But the last time before that, it was like 5 years.
Just 5 years.
Yeah. So it wasn't like the craziest, most violent bank story, but it was enough for me to be like, okay, I left serving to not stress out my body, and now here we are getting robbed,
in the most stressful situation there can be.
Yeah.
God.
So
man. So okay.
That was that.
Yeah. So okay. So you leave there, right? You're pregnant with the twins at the time, right? So you go from the bank. What was the next stop? So you did the bank teller, but after you left the bank teller, like you were having like it was like a difficult time, right? And then things weren't going well. So I also wanted to bring up this, right? So this is something I've always wondered, right? And I used to, as a bartender, like I've handled cash a lot and things like that. And I remember like at the end of the night, my hands would be like, I'm like, God, even if you're washing your hands,
don't become a teller.
Like how disgusting is it? And you're a germ, like you're an admitted germaphobe.
I'm a germaphobe. My husband gets on me all the time with using hand sanitizer and washing with soap and water. But I'm just gonna backtrack real quick. I went to tech school for nursing, and then I went while I was in school. And then when I graduated, I went to college for nursing. So when you go through your clinicals, like you're washing your hands 1,000 times. And then I found out real quick that nursing and in a hospital setting was not for me. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
It's
not for everybody. I'll tell you this. I couldn't do that. I've seen some rough shit, I think, and like I could see some tough things going on. But like when my wife, when she was giving birth to my child, I couldn't watch it because it was her. Like I couldn't see her like that.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know, man. There's certain people like to watch someone do a surgery and cut someone open. I mean, more power to you, but old Uncle Matty's not doing that.
See, I can do that. I can do surgeries. I can do blood. I can do like Dr. Pimple Popper stuff. But I just can't do like saliva and feces and stuff like that. So it wasn't for me. So fast forwarding to the bank, when you're touching all that money, a lot of it, especially from the gas stations, when they come in, you put them through the machines and just dust goes flying. And it's not from the money. It's just, who knows what's on that money. It was so gross. So you're constantly, and your hands just feel so gritty and gross and dirty. And so I always had, the sanitizers, and that wouldn't do it for me. So I would go and do soap and water between every gas station. Because they bring in a lot of money every day. So
it's part of it.
It was just so gross.
So okay. So like the nursing thing, and then the bank thing, it comes up, you're pregnant, you're going through this pregnancy and you're trying to protect the kids and everything. It's a rough time, and Jordan was still fighting at the time. Right. So he's still fighting. Yeah. And your parents still have the gym, and you're still here at the gym and helping out there. And like you're doing a ton of stuff. So like you're in as far as I've known you, you're not the type of sit around, and wait for stuff to happen. You're out making things happen.
I like things done yesterday. For anyone who knows me knows I like things done yesterday.
Sure. Hey, it's not a bad habit.
I learned that from my mom. Yesterday.
Hey, that's right. Hey, I mean, she's the best. So after, the bank whole sham is done, the nursing school thing's done, you're pregnant and everything like that. You kind of took I remember at that time, you kind of took I would say like a leadership sales role here at the gym. You kind of took more responsibility here at that time. Right. And because I remember we had like a meeting, and like, you're like, look, this is how shit has to go now. And I was fine with it.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, but that was fun. But like, I saw you taking more of a leadership role at that point, and that was great. And you're doing a great job. But then also, and this is something that you're passionate about and I love. And this is kind of like you started this early. So you've been in the social media game for such a long time, and your social media presence is fantastic. And I love like your business and everything like that. So right now, and it's still operational, Amber Ray Cakes, and we'll in the description of this episode, we'll have links to all your stuff, all your social media stuff, your website, everything like that, where you can go to look at everything and take care of everything. And I'm telling you, I will say this. So you made cupcakes for my wife's baby shower, right? Or I guess for
Your
baby
baby
shower.
shower.
Yeah. It'd be our baby shower.
It's a package deal.
Yeah. But you made those cupcakes, and I remember like there was a bunch of people, none left, like gone instantly. Right. And there was a ton of people that came up to us afterwards. And this isn't me like blowing smoke up your ass, but a ton of people came up to us afterwards saying like, those were the best fucking cupcakes I've ever had. Where did you get those? And I was like, Amber Ray Cakes. It's the best ones going. So let's talk about that. So the bank telling's done. You're pregnant. You're taking on a lot more responsibility here at the gym in a leadership role and doing a great job there. And then you were like, look, I'm passionate about this. I like doing it. It's fun. And you're also very good at it. And you would turn it into not only like you were cooking, but you're also teaching and things like that. Yeah. So how did you find out you were good at doing the novelty cakes and everything like that? And then what was like the inspiration behind the, starting the business and everything like that? Go ahead.
So it's really my hidden talent, and that's where that comes in, because I would watch Cake Boss.
Great show.
Faithfully.
Great show.
That was my favorite show. And if it's still, ran, I would still watch it all the time. But my favorite show. So I always wanted to make like a cake with fondant and stuff like that. And my mom's birthday came up, and it was what do you get someone who has everything, right? So I was like, what, why don't I just make a cake? So I went and bought, everything that I needed and made her a cake. And it literally just went from there. If you go on my page, I put, it's like my very first picture.
Okay.
But the process, it's funny when I look back because I did it all wrong. I did everything all wrong. Like
but you were learning as you were going.
Yeah, I bought like the pre-packaged fondant. I didn't make my own, and I was just trying to like here you have to knead it, but I didn't. I took it out of the package, and I was just like trying to roll it, but it was so hard.
Yeah.
So it all cracked, but overall for like my first cake, it looked decent. I guess.
Yeah.
You can be the judge of that.
Yeah,
but
you can find it on your Instagram, Amber Ray Cakes.
Amber Ray Cakes.
Yep.
So
and Ray is RAE.
RAE.
Yep.
So Amber Ray Cakes.
Yeah.
So
Lincoln will be in the description.
Yeah. So then I just started doing that for birthdays. So then my brother's birthday came up next, and I made him a Ninja Turtle cake, and because he loved the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
and
of course.
And then it just kept on going. And then I got better. I'm self-taught. I never took classes. I just looked on YouTube and just taught myself.
But it's kind of like that's kind of been you're not afraid to try.
No,
and you're not afraid to fail at something to learn how to do it correctly. And you like learn from your mistakes. That's something I feel people are afraid to fail. You shouldn't be afraid to fail. You should be afraid not to try.
On the Valentine's Day, Matt you ordered a bunch of bouquets because I put out this special. It was my very first Valentine's Day. And I was like, oh, I'll do these bouquets, and it's a bunch of cupcakes to make like a flower bouquet.
Yeah, it was and they were fun. Like, so for people listening, they were the mini cupcake gimmicks, and she would put them in like a fake like flower pot, so it looked almost like
a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I had, I don't know how many orders. I had so many orders. But my mistake was, because I was such a noob at it, I put the cupcakes in the refrigerator.
Ooh.
And you're not supposed to do that because the refrigerator takes moisture out of things.
Oh, I see.
So if you ever, your phone goes into water, you put it in the fridge because it takes the moisture out, stuff like that. So it was like 450 cupcakes in the refrigerator.
Oh, no.
So when I went to go assemble them, mind you, this is the morning of that people are going to. I baked them the night before, put them in the refrigerator, and then people are going to pick them up the next morning.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how many. There was like 9 cupcakes per bouquet. So then divide that by 450, and that's how many bouquets that I had to make for my first like big thing.
Yeah.
So I went to assemble them, and I'm like, wow, these are hard. Like, why are they hard? And I bit into one, and they were bone dry. And I looked it up, and they say to never put cupcakes in the refrigerator.
Oh,
And this is my first like couple months in cake decorating.
Oh, and this is like the
Don't-
first big push with the.
So I texted Matt and I was like, I'm gonna need some time. I could have just thrown it all out and just told everybody, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
But I remade every single cupcake.
So you made 900 cupcakes.
900 cupcakes, assembled them all and got them all out for
Yeah.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
It was the biggest nightmare. I was so stressed out because it's a lot. I mean,
it's but I'll tell you this, that shows like there's some people there and a lot of people would have thrown in the towel or served a shit product.
Yes.
And you weren't willing to do
no
either.
way. I was just starting out and I was like, if people taste this, they're not going to come back. They were so dry. And I want to be known for, there are so many bakers out there where things may look okay, but they taste horrible.
Yeah.
My goal, and from what I hear, I achieved that. Is
very much
they,
so.
They
Yes.
look great and they taste great. And that's what I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I had to stand up to that.
Yeah.
And those cupcakes, oh my gosh.
They were.
That was a nightmare. That was the biggest nightmare. I'll never forget it.
I think I bought 6 or 7.
Yeah, you bought like 6 or 7 bouquets and you had to come like a couple hours late because it was just, they were so dry.
I didn't care. I was like,
And then Matt comes in, he goes, let me taste them. So I gave him a bone. He goes, what? They're fine. And I'm like, no, they're not. They were bone dry. I'm like, no way.
Man, I remember I picked those up and I was so excited because my buddy, he was like, hey, can you get me one for my girl? Then I got one for like my mom. I got one for like the person I was seeing at the time. Then like I worked with other bunch of girls too. And I got everyone for one of the girls I worked with and they fucking loved them.
Yeah.
They absolutely loved them. Yeah. It was great. And plus too, it was so like, not only was it like really good, but like very creative too. Like that is such an ingenious idea of like, oh, like, because like girls get flowers for Valentine's Day all the time. And I think it's like, like this was just a new taste and like a new twist on it. And I thought it was great, and it turned out well. And like you said, the look matched the taste.
Yeah.
Presentation and taste were both spot on. So, okay. So your mom's birthday, right? And you're like, oh, I like the show and I want to give this a shot. And, if I like it, we'll see how it goes. You find out you really like doing it. You have a passion for it. Once you like work out the kinks, you figure out like, I'm pretty freaking good at this too. And like when people check out Amber Ray Cakes on Instagram, you'll see the pictures and the proof is in the pudding because I've seen some incredible cakes on there. Like the Ninja Turtle one. Shout out to your brother who, for people that listen to the show, you'll hear the theme music and that was her brother who did that. Yeah. The intro song for the Working Perspectives podcast was done by Randy Lott, and we can't thank him enough because he did a fantastic job. So, okay. So you're working, you're doing the cake business. And I'll tell you this, like because this was like, I guess, social media was like, it was starting to be, it's massive now and advertising on social media is really the name of the game and having like a social media presence. But this was at the time, like this is 2013, 2012, like around that, maybe 2013, around that time frame. And you're deep into the social media game. So you started at like very, very much in the beginning and escalated to now. So like as compared to then as now, what do you think is like maybe the biggest difference
with social media?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it I built my following, a lot of it was like word of mouth.
Yeah. Which I still think is the best way.
And that was, so I wasn't even when I first started, I wasn't like, let me start a social media page right away.
Yeah.
It was all word of mouth. And then once I got a social media, it was everyone that I already had, but then they were able to, share.
Yeah.
I never did the promotions. Like I never did the promoting.
Yeah.
Which I think could have maybe increased my following, but I wanted to keep it local. I was getting calls from like Jersey and New York and stuff like that. And I would deliver to Jersey and New York, but I did ultimately want to keep it local and be everyone's like local baker. And that's what I feel like I was. And
that's great.
Yeah. But now I don't know. I mean, I think to stay pure is to keep your following local. And not, it depends on what you do though. With cake decorating, you don't want to like go out too far. You don't want to.
You're not going to be sending cakes to Chicago, right? Like
no. And I've gotten calls to to send cakes through the mail and stuff like that. And I knew if it showed up, you know, all mangled and stuff, I didn't want that to be a product of, you know,
and
brand.
that it's your brand.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
I never wanted to. It's not that I was afraid to take that leap. I just wanted to stay true to myself and to what I was providing people.
Beautiful.
So.
That's beautiful. So what is, do you think, like, I mean, so what can you say though is your favorite thing about cake decorating, like now? Because I'll tell you this, because I think you had a video one time, maybe it was like a Minion, right? The Minion gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you had a video of the kids seeing that and like being blown away. Is that right? Or it was something along those lines?
It was a photo of him that I got his picture at the time, and he was just like, he was so surprised.
Mind blown. Yeah.
That's my favorite part is the end result. I love getting in the baking part is my least favorite because I can't wait to get to the decorating.
Yeah.
But the decorating part it's very messy, you know, but I get into my Zen mode, and it's also like meditating for me to decorate things to get in my zone, which was a lot easier before the kids.
Yeah.
Which is why, you know,
yeah.
I took a turn.
Hey, you have the hardest job in the world as a full-time mom, so you know,
and a homeschooled mom,
and
so
a homeschool. I don't know how you freaking do it.
Yeah,
so okay, so let's keep it moving then. So like we said, Amber Rate Cakes, all the links, all the info will be available in the description of this episode. Very much, you know, I very much suggest it, and you can ask anybody that was at my baby shower, they will say the same damn thing. And anyone who's ever had some of Amber's stuff, it's phenomenal, and like can't thank her enough. And you even delivered ours too, which ours was like, you know, it was like an hour away.
Yeah, I mean, I would deliver. But I think also another favorite thing was people would ask me how I did certain things, so I love to teach them and show them tutorials.
Right. Yeah.
So then another thing that I added on, I was like, well, instead of showing somebody individually, why don't I start teaching classes?
Yeah.
So I really loved the idea of painting with a twist, where you go, you paint, you drink, you have fun with your friends.
Yeah.
So I want to do that with caking, like caking with a twist. So I started my own business called Cakes Uncorked. And perfect. So you go, I teach the class. You don't need to bring anything except for your alcohol. It's BYOB. And I teach you how to build a cake from scratch. So I loved doing that. And unfortunately, like when COVID hit, we had to stop all of that stuff. But I loved teaching classes.
I feel like you're a natural teacher. And I would say your dad is as well. And I mean, your mom is just such a presence. She's just everything. But like, I feel like teaching for you is something that you're naturally good at. Would you agree with that? Because I've seen you in action. I think you're phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've been told with my teaching classes, they didn't leave not knowing what to do. And then people would show me their creations after that, what they're doing at home for their family. So it's like, I taught you that, you know, like I taught. Because it's not just when people, it's funny, some people order cakes like, can you just make this tomorrow? And I'm like, no, no.
Yeah.
Because it's
let
a
me
lot
drop
of work,
everything I'm doing. Yeah.
Well, cakes it's a multi-day process. It's
because you have to make the cake first.
You have to make the cake first. You make it from scratch. If you're a scratch baker, which I am, you make it from scratch.
Yeah.
Then you know, it has to go in the freezer. Do not put your cakes in the fridge. It will dry them out.
Learn that the hard way.
If you put them in the freezer, here's just a little tip. Put them in the freezer and it locks in the moisture.
Ooh.
So then when you take them out to decorate, it's firm to decorate. So you get a nice firm.
Yeah. Do you think I guess if it's frozen too, like would it help the icing stick to the cake maybe?
When it starts, yes. So then while the cakes are naturally cold, then your frosting gets cold with it. So it just keeps it smooth. And then your cake inside, the moisture is just locked in and it doesn't come out, just locks in. So that's good. What produces
the best.
Very my most hated word, moist cake. So, I hate that word.
I would have to say that's the number one most hated word by females, because every female I talk to is like, oh yeah, don't ever say that word ever.
And the P word. But Sarah Silverman, if you ever seen that comedy,
the P pussy.
Yes. You guys have to see. You have to see the comedy. Did you ever see it with her?
No. What?
And she's like, pussy. Like she says it like that. So that's the only way that I can say it now is
Pussy.
pussy. That's how she says it.
All right,
But it's
cool.
just, it's so gross. I hate that word.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's a crass one, but that's more of like a locker room talk word. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff has no, in polite society.
Yeah,
that
but
is no
moist,
bearing.
I can't. Oh.
I can't believe it's like the P word. Oh man. Okay. So not only were like we said, we'll have cake. We'll have Amber 8 cakes. We'll have caking and uncorked.
Cakes uncorked.
Cakes uncorked. We'll have that in here. That's a great shout too for bachelorette, bridal shower,
Private events. Yeah.
Like having a birthday, or like a girls' night. I mean, it's just it's
so much fun.
Yeah, so much fun, and you're having cakes. I'll tell you, I don't know how you do it and stay so thin. Well, I do know now.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But even before that, you were always in great shape. But I was at your house when you're baking, and it smells so good.
Yeah.
Like I don't your husband's also very lean and ripped and everything like that. And I don't freaking know how you do it, because you're shaving off pieces of the cake, and I wouldn't be able to just be like, no,
Yeah. I mean, no matter how many times I've made cakes, if I even did get sick of them, I always taste tested everything.
You have to.
No matter how many, I've made my recipes 100,000 times, and I taste every single one just to make sure it's on point.
Yeah.
And so just buy the scraps, but now I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because of my autoimmune issues, and who knows if that contributed.
Wait, what do you mean now? A word from our sponsor.
Are you someone who struggles picking a podcast to listen to because your time is extremely valuable?
Yeah, how'd you know?
Are you someone who says, damn, there's not enough hours in the day to pick just one?
Wait, what the fuck?
Or are you someone who's interested in a podcast where they interview a wide range of people and find out how the hell they ended up in their profession?
It's like you read my mind.
If I say yes too, can you help me out?
Oh, shit!
On an unrelated note, while we call the police, if you said yes to all those questions, then look no further and allow me to introduce you to the Working Perspectives podcast, hosted by executive producer Matt Lavelle and accompanied by co-host Party Boy Pete McCormick. As mentioned, they interview a wide range of people and find out how in the purple nurple fuck they ended up in their professions, which I think, in my opinion, as someone who previously job hopped from one place to another until I found something I'm good at, this is something worth investing your time in. You will learn about jobs that you never knew existed. Feel the grind that some of these people felt before getting to where they are today. And just like me, it'll maybe help you find that motivation you're looking for to pursue in what it is you want to do. And also, they have great segments in the middle of the show, such as The Weekend Pop-In. Give it a shot. And my two favorites, Memory Lane and What's Going Down in Gamertown, which is a segment I'm part of, so you should definitely look into it. So, that being said, after this video, go out and listen to the Working Perspectives podcast. You can find them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All links are in the link tree, which is in the description. And now, back to the episode.
Once the movie's in theaters, it's gonna go onto the streaming services.
So let's get into it. So can you kind of give a synopsis for the listeners that don't know, what is autoimmune?
Well, there's all different types of autoimmune. Your body basically is attacking itself. It thinks that everything in your system that is supposed to be going on, it thinks that they're invaders. So your body just starts attacking itself. That's someone who has an autoimmune disease. Now, I have Hashimoto's, which is an inflammatory disease. A lot of people think it's a thyroid disease. But it's an autoimmune disease. It's inflammatory.
Yeah.
And it can cause hypothyroidism, which is a thyroid disease. So, and that's what happened to me, January of 2020.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I had Hashimoto's. I had no idea that I had an autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
And just one night changed everything. And, fast forward, I was in the hospital. I was slipping into a coma, and they found out that I had Hashimoto's. It turned to hypothyroidism, and I was in thyroid storm, and that's when the two clash, and your body just starts to break down.
And is this something is it hereditary? Does it come out of the blue? Have you had this your whole life and it was just not as big as it came, or how does it come around?
So I had thyroid issues growing up. I got my menstrual cycle when I was 8.5 years old. So I was very, very young. I think I was in second grade with So then I went through puberty very early.
Yeah.
So it caused, and I believe my thyroid issues came from birth control.
I see.
And you find that a lot now, that a lot of people who have this, it backtracks to birth control being given at such a young age.
Yeah.
So there are thyroid issues in my family. So it is a little contagious, if you will. So I think going forward with the Hashimoto's, I never knew what that was until I got it. And as soon as I was diagnosed, actually my ENT diagnosed me with the Hashimoto's. That's when I changed everything cold turkey.
Yeah.
And with an inflammatory disease, diet is everything. Food is medicine. There's no medicine that can help you more
That is
than
your
food.
Mantra now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Food is medicine.
So you're the inflammatory, the Hashimoto's, the inflammatory, the thyroid issues, everything like that. This is changed your life. And I've seen it firsthand. You're still the same ass kicking chick that you always were, but now it's this is how you live your life now. You shop at a certain spot, you're only eating certain things, but also you've become like a researcher, a spokesperson, and a shoulder to cry on and everything for the autoimmune community, right? So so let's get into it. Food is medicine. So how is the food helping with how does that affect your autoimmune?
Well, I first want to say I became my own advocate because doctors, and while we need them, they don't know much about autoimmunity. They don't know how to treat it, because if they did, then they would basically run out of business.
Right.
Because if they tell you to eat clean, a lot of the symptoms would go away and they wouldn't be back for more medicine.
I see.
So, and I'm not trying to
But that's also people
knock anybody with a degree,
people have to have the willingness to eat clean as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And when I first was diagnosed with this, I would resort to doctors because I didn't know any better.
Yeah. And you're scared too.
I'm scared to death. Yeah. I mean, I have 3 children at home and I'm in a hospital and there's nothing I can do. I accept there was many times in that hospital bed, I accepted that I wasn't going to wake up. And it was a nightmare. I will never put myself in a position where I'm back at that. And that's why I want to help people, because, had I known the foods that I was eating was putting me in that state, I would have changed my lifestyle years ago. We're brought up to just, eat whatever you want in moderation, you'll be fine. But everybody's different. And that's where that came in.
So what kind of foods were you eating that was like pizzas and
just gluten, dairy, soy, all of that? So when I was diagnosed with the Hashimoto's, it being an inflammatory disease, you have to eliminate things that cause inflammation in the body.
Okay.
And that being, so I looked up.
So sodium is because it makes you retain water.
Well, it depends where it's being derived from.
Okay. I see.
So while I cannot have soy sauce, I found an alternative, coconut aminos. So coconut aminos is derived from coconuts.
Okay.
And it's an alternative to soy sauce. It tastes just like soy sauce, but you're not getting all of the bad. So what people
soy is it's liquid salt, really, right?
Not only that, all soy is genetically modified. So you can't when you get coconut aminos, it's not genetically modified. You don't have all of those artificial things going into your body. You can't get soybeans and stuff like that. So that's why it's in soy. I don't care who tells you this. Soy is not good for you at all.
Yeah.
And in a lot of vegan dishes, they use a lot of soy. They'll use tofu. They'll use, there's just
the meat substitutes and all that gimmick. Yeah.
Yes. So I can go back and forth with, people with that all day. So mine goes beyond just being gluten-free. So when I say, okay, I have Hashimoto's, so oh, well, I have a gluten-free option. Right. But what are the ingredients in that gluten-free option?
Yeah.
It goes beyond that.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, when I first went cold turkey, I would cry for days because you don't know. I don't want to be back in the hospital.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to eat the wrong thing, but I also need to eat. So I had to figure out.
And the information you're getting,
very slim.
I want everyone to imagine this who's listening. Imagine this. the next bite you take, the next bite of food you could have taken would have put you in a coma.
Put me back into the hospital.
Yeah, imagine that. And you're asking doctors for help,
Mhm.
and you're asking people for help, and they don't know the answer.
And that's where social media comes in, because I have found the greatest following of people.
Oh, that's
they don't have
fantastic.
degrees, but they have something better. They have experience.
And they have the passion and
Yes.
the
and
drive.
that's where I say, like, I will never knock doctors for what they do. I love what they do,
It's a
but the
much needed
people who
service.
have the experience with somebody like me
Yeah,
means the world, because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here having this, telling my story,
yeah,
had it not been for finding these people on social media
yeah.
who have the same thing that I do,
Jesus.
who have done the research that I do now. And, it's just, so what I had to eliminate was, so I found a diet called AIP. It's Autoimmune Protocol. And the
Okay.
Autoimmune Protocol is an elimination diet. Usually you just do it for 30 days. You eliminate all the foods that cause inflammation: gluten, dairy, soy, wheat, legumes, nightshade vegetables. When people go and eat a tomato and they think they're being healthy, for someone like me, that's hindering. I can't have tomatoes. I can't have peppers.
What?
So I can't have eggplant.
Could
right.
do you have to stay away from like genetically modified vegetables?
Nothing genetically modified, nothing processed. Genetically modified isn't good for anybody.
Yeah. You're eating a vegetable that's created in a
Right.
lab. Like,
Right.
come on.
Growth hormones in meats. So I have to make sure all my meats are grass fed. I need to not grass finished. They need to be grass fed
Grass-fed.
from start to finish.
Wow.
If they're just grass finished, that means they were being fed like the corn, the wheats,
Yeah.
the soys, and I can't
Yeah.
have any of that. So, so there's a
Wow.
lot of things that I had to eliminate
Yeah.
cold turkey. And
Yeah.
today, this is a year and a half later, I still follow that same diet.
Yeah.
And I'm not deprived. I eat so much food.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me, I literally do not stop eating. It's just very,
And I'll say this, and I've known you for like 14 years, and you've never been in better shape. I'll say, like,
Right.
right? Would you
So-
agree?
yeah, absolutely. I'm in the best shape of my life. I did start a page. It's called Autoimmune with Amber.
Yeah.
And he'll put that under there. But
Of
if you
course,
go down,
yeah, be in the
if
description.
you go down to the first picture, you'll see, and not many people are like, oh my gosh, you were that big, because
but it wasn't like you were, but like I never thought you were huge, but like you're saying,
Mhm.
it is a notable difference.
there's a before and after, and
Yeah.
it was so much inflammation my body was holding on to from the disease that I didn't know that I had. And I'm almost at an 80-pound weight loss just from, and I just started working out. So all of the weight
It's
coming
diet.
off of me was pure diet.
Yeah.
And all of I would say like 95% of my symptoms are gone just from diet. And that's
Wow.
why I'm so passionate.
Food is medicine.
Food is medicine. I'm not on medicine. They put me on medications. Just back when I was in the hospital, they never checked my thyroid. So they thought that it was neurological, because I kept saying, I keep having these symptoms, these head rushes, the brain fog. I passed out. That's what put me in the hospital.
What?
And so they sent me to Penn, where, the best doctors are supposed to be, never checked my thyroid. They were putting me on neurological medications, which was making me worse.
What?
And what a lot of people don't know is autoimmune diseases start in your gut.
Yeah.
So your gut, if you don't have healthy gut bacteria, your gut is going to send signals to your brain.
Yeah.
So you don't have neurological issues. It's your gut sending signals. So before you fix anything,
yeah.
you need to fix your gut.
Yeah.
So
This is the engine here,
this is
Yeah.
where it all starts. And
Yeah.
this is where all of the autoimmune diseases start, is in your gut. So
Yeah.
I went and saw a GI specialist, many of them, mind you. And he did a breath test. It was a 3-hour breath test to see if I had SIBO, which is small
which is
intestinal.
you breathing into
Every 15. So you drink this disgusting sugar drink,
Oh.
which, mind you, put me into a flare, because
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to have the
Yeah.
like the added sugars.
Yeah.
But I had to do it. It was kind of like,
because you still were kind of figuring it out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
So every 15 minutes for 3 hours, you blow into this machine and it measures the bacteria in your gut. And
Ugh.
here it came back. Not only did I have the celiac, I had the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I'm methane dominant, which goes beyond. So I have to cure my gut health
Yeah.
before I can, move on. So that's what I've been working on, is curing my gut health. And a lot of people think like, oh, you can eat salads, and I was eating raw salads, but it was causing me to flare. I would bloat, and you'll see on my page, I'll post a picture in the morning where, you can see, definition and whatever, and abs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then 2-3 hours later, after I eat a salad, I'll look like I'm 6 months pregnant, because the raw vegetables, my body isn't breaking down, isn't digesting properly.
God.
So while carrots are healthy for you and the salad, I have to cook all of my vegetables so my body can digest properly. If I eat a raw salad, it's going to bloat me out because my body's not breaking down the fibers.
Jesus.
So
that's scary. Like, to me, that's also very scary.
It just goes, there are many tiers. And that's why if you just go to like a regular nutritionist, you're not going to get what you need. You
have to find a specialist, but also like even a specialist, but you need a community, right? The community is really what saved you, right? Because you're reaching out to these people saying like, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this. And someone's like, I did all that, and this actually worked.
Yes.
And that's when that's really where you found like, this has helped me the most.
And it saved my life.
Yeah.
Because the doctors had me on all these medications, and they're so quick to put
just
you on medication. Like, oh, this isn't working, here's a pill. Oh, this isn't working, take this medication.
And let's be honest, you're not blaming doctors.
No,
you're blaming,
it's just they're not educated enough for this type of sickness.
And doctors have a role. We're not saying that. The doctors provide a service and everything like that. But when it comes to this type of thing, they weren't educated enough. Right.
And I believe we have doctors and nurses in our family, and they told me straight up, they learn about 85% of what they learn is pharmaceutical, how to take care of patients, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The remainder, the 15% is nutrition, which is the biggest thing, because nutrition is what puts patients into hospital beds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I get so worked up over this, because if they would just pay a little bit more attention on nutrition and telling people, what they should and shouldn't eat. Like, people know, you shouldn't be going to a fast food place. It's not good for you. But it goes beyond that. It goes beyond, it's like the processed foods, the added sugars, the growth hormones in like factory meats. And, so
you're absolutely right.
When I grocery shop, it's,
so you only go to a specific place, right?
Well, I go to two. I do get a lot of my, like, the staples from Giant, but I go to Kimberton Whole Foods, where they have, you'll notice on labels when you were talking about, like, they put gluten-free on things now. Well, now at Kimberton's, I found they're putting the AIP label. So it's like AI. And I was like, when I saw that, I nearly cried because I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's
someone finally recognizes.
Yes. So, so while, I would love to like make tomato sauces and stuff, I can't have tomatoes. So instead of making it myself, because it takes a lot of time and sometimes I just don't have all of that time, I found a company who makes an AIP friendly tomato sauce, where it's no-mato. It's called a no-mato sauce. But I don't know if I can shout them out, but am I allowed to?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're shitting on them. We're helping them.
No, I love, because they have the brand is called KC Naturals. KC Naturals.
So any autoimmune people listening to this, or people that are looking into it, what is it? KC Naturals.
KC Naturals. They are a staple in my autoimmune life. It's just great, because you can have your tomato sauce without the tomato, without the nightshades. You can have your barbecue sauce. You can have your mustards, you can have, your salsa, you can have everything. And it makes you feel normal. There's so many brands, and I will, like, on my page, if you do go to my page, you can see all the brands.
We'll have a link for it in the description, of course.
Yeah, you can see the brands that I use that are anti-inflammatory.
Yeah. And
you don't need to have and I tell this to people all the time, you don't need to have an autoimmune disease to follow this type of lifestyle. It's actually, it's very good for you. Your body goes through a lot. So to have all of that inflammation taken away, it's like
good gut health should be a prerequisite for everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
So gut health is huge.
Yeah. I mean, and also like the gut health stems from like you can't eat specifically genetically modified food. It's just not healthy. It's not. People, I think the message should go out there, and we're not political on the show by any means.
And the sugars.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. And we're not political on this show by any means. And everyone deserves to treat themselves if they want to. And it's all your choice. But you need to know that there is dangers from eating genetically modified foods and sugars. And it's not all good for you, no matter what they say, even vegetables. So I wanted to ask this, though. Right. So I know you, and I'll tell you this, and your dad as well, have gotten flack for being germaphobes, right? And I've been here 14 years, and everyone's always made a joke of it. Oh, germaphobes, right? When the pandemic hit, they were fucking loving that. It was like like everyone was like, thank God. Well, also too, there's no breakouts here. There's no ringworm. There's no staph. There's no anything like that. Never has been. Knock on wood. There never will be. Right? Because of like, being a germaphobe, and it's got its pluses and minuses. When you started feeling this way and having these symptoms and all these stuff, were you met with, oh, Amber, you're a germaphobe, you're a hypochondriac, like there's nothing wrong? And maybe that was where the neurological stuff came in. Were you ever met with that kind of stuff when trying to deal with the autoimmune?
So the very first thing when I went to the hospital, they were feeding me medication for anxiety. Telling me that I was just anxious. Take some Ativan, you'll be good. And at first I'm like, do I have anxiety? Because I didn't know what was going on. So they gave me, and I don't take any medicine. I don't take ibuprofen if I don't have to. It just freaks me out. I just don't. I'll use like peppermint oil or something. I don't like to use medication.
It's not a bad practice.
So they were, so next day I went back to the hospital with the same issues because I kept, having the feelings that I was going to pass out. Here's more Ativan. I said, it's not, I put my foot down right away. It's not the fucking Ativan. I don't have anxiety. I know what anxiety is. I don't have that.
I was in a bank robbery. I know what fucking anxiety.
I don't have anxiety. Like I know people who have anxiety. I felt anxiety before. This is not it. Like there's something seriously wrong.
It's internal. You could tell, like you had the instincts, and your instincts were correct, by the way, that it was an internal issue.
I'm so in tune with my body. I know when something's off. I knew when something was off. I just knew. So
you're in there and they're feeding you this stuff for anti-anxiety and things like that. So then where did you go from there?
So then I went to the same hospital for a third time for the third day.
And this is Penn?
No, this was Grandview.
Okay.
And the same doctor, he comes in and he goes, what did you Google today? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I would have lost my fucking shit.
I lost my mind. Because then I felt like I was looked at like a smacked ass.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yes. Like they're not taking me seriously.
And they're not trying to.
I don't have Google. I have DuckDuckGo. So get that right. And I'm not Googling stuff, but people do. I mean, when something's wrong, you do start to like look stuff up.
And that's something that they have to deal with. But the fact that
I get it,
Yeah, but you're in there for the third day in a row, like something's wrong. This isn't working. I need help. And they're meeting you with disdain. And that's like, honestly, it's just unprofessional in any aspect. And like to you also, like if you're there and you're seriously in pain and you're scared, right? And you're scared something's going to happen, and you get into this doctor, and maybe he was just trying to lighten up the situation. I don't know. But to me, that just seems like the read the fucking room guy, like wrong remark. Like I would have, if someone did that to my wife, I would have lost my fucking shit.
Mind. Because I was in the height of the thyroid storm. So I was I couldn't get out of my bed. My husband had to take off work to take care of my kids. Jesus. I could hear my surroundings, but I couldn't react. I couldn't do anything. I was slipping into a coma. So it was them not taking it seriously. So then I went to another hospital. Then I went to Einstein Montgomery. Okay. And I was in there for a whole week. They did a full workup. And I want to say, when my first night in Grandview, they checked my thyroid, but they never reported it. Like they never transferred it to
they never like doctor. Connected like no. They never told him.
They never transferred it. So we have my thyroid records on record from back then, so I could actually see. This is where we got our conclusion from. Had they looked at my thyroid results, they would have known exactly what. Instead, I went 2 months going through many MRIs, CAT scans with contrast, without contrast. And at the time, I did not know the importance of detoxing after CAT scans with contrast, MRIs with any type of contrast, you need to detox from. I had no idea.
Yeah.
In a whole week, I went through, I had 7 CAT scans. And so I had all that contrast in my body.
Oh, Jesus
They did an
Christ.
echogram. They checked my heart. They did an EEG,
Yeah.
an EKG.
Yeah.
They checked literally everything. And while they could see the activity going on in my brain from the episodes I was having,
Yeah.
it wasn't harming my brain, thankfully, but that's the autoimmune.
Yeah.
So you have these things, but it doesn't
Oh,
necessarily.
so they
do
see
harm your
like
brain.
there's something being triggered.
They
They
see
don't
it.
see where it's coming from. It's
Right.
coming from your stomach.
Because it's autoimmune.
I see.
So so it's not necessarily, and it can cause, like, someone like my mom, she has MS. So she has multiple sclerosis, which multiple meaning multiple, and then sclerosis meaning scars. So
Yeah.
she has multiple scars on her brain. With me, I don't have that. They couldn't see what was they could see what was happening, but they didn't know what to do about it because they didn't know it was an autoimmune reaction.
Yeah.
So then after that week, I was getting progressively worse. I got sent to Penn. And that's where they were like, okay, this is probably neurological. Let's super up on neurological medications. That was making me worse.
Yeah.
They sent me home because they weren't sure what was happening. But, I was having like episodes of like the syncope where I would like pass out and stuff like that. So,
Oh my God.
so then I met my ENT. He's
Yeah.
in a hole in the wall, Dr. Goldberg. He's in Willow Grove. My lifesaver. He
Really?
literally
Okay.
an ENT specialist. Okay. I've been
Wh-
to neurological.
Okay.
I've been to cardiology.
Yeah.
I've been to
You've had every freaking workup in the
every
book.
workup under the sun.
Yeah.
I go to this ENT specialist.
What do you know
'cause
what ENT stands for? I don't know.
ears, nose, and throat.
Fuck, I'm an idiot.
You
Shows a
better
mom.
not cut that out.
I'm not. It shows a mom and a dad. Because I know your fucking husband wouldn't know what that means either. Yeah. So
Well, now he
ENT.
knows 'cause
Yeah.
that's all we know. Ears, nose, and throat. 'Cause,
So this guy is okay. So ear, nose, and throat doctor, and you head to this guy. In your mind, going to this guy, were you thinking like this guy's gonna have the answer? You're like, might as well fucking try this
No,
guy.
I
because-
tried everything because the whole time I was in the hospital, I went to go see neurology because of the head things I was having. Then I
Yeah.
went to go see GI because during my entire flare, I looked like I was 6 months pregnant, but I was losing weight too.
Yeah.
So I was like, why am I losing so much weight? But my stomach is so big. I couldn't use the bathroom. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I went to see every specialist.
Yeah.
So also the whole time my neck was bothering me.
Oh.
Like my lymph nodes and all that stuff. So I'm like, what could that be? So I'm like, okay, ears, nose, throat. My thyroid is in my throat. I'm like putting these pieces together. What is going on? So I go to him. He goes, I fill out a paper. The secretaries give me this piece of paper, and I've never related to a piece of paper so much my whole life because there was like 100 symptoms on this paper that you have to check off.
Oh wow.
And I checked off literally nearly all of them.
Oh wow.
And I look at this paper and I start crying my eyes out. And Jordan's like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this piece of paper understands me
Like
more than
they
these
fucking
doctors.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah, this paper gets it, So I check it all off. And Dr. Goldberg, he looks at it. He goes, has anyone checked your thyroid? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
No. And he goes, we're going to check your thyroid. We're going to do a full workup on your thyroid. I'm sending you for an ultrasound of your thyroid, of your lymph nodes, of your whole neck. We're getting all the blood work,
Yeah.
this and that. And when I thought of thyroid, I'm like, okay, they'll check my TSH. It goes beyond that. You have a full panel. You check your antibodies. That's what shows if you have like the Hashimoto's, my TPO antibodies.
Yeah.
So he actually pulls my thyroid, my TSH from when it all started that the doctor never reported.
Mhm.
And my TSH was a 7.9, which is super high.
Really?
And which made sense. And then my TPO antibodies, the normal range is between 0 and 34. And mine were above 600.
Oh.
So it was the
Jesus
7.9.
fuck.
Yes, it was the 7.9 TSH. And then the almost 700. And who knows? That was coming down. He checked my TPO antibodies after I went through the storm. So
Oh,
he said my numbers were probably over like in the thousands,
Jesus.
but they never checked them.
Yeah.
So then,
is that they never checked them or they just overlooked it?
well, in the hospitals, they only check TSH. They don't, and they check your T4
I see.
and stuff like that. They never
Okay.
check your antibodies, which makes zero sense to me because not many people know this either, but the antibodies shows how the number shows how aggressive the attack is on your thyroid.
Okay.
So while Hashimoto's isn't a thyroid disease, it shows the number however aggressive the attack is on your thyroid.
Yeah.
So depending on what that number is,
Yeah.
it's going to give you that information.
Yeah.
So with my numbers being so high, he goes, "You have Hashimoto's." I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" I have no idea. Like, what is that? And he proceeds to tell me it's an inflammatory disease. It also calls you to go to be hypothyroid. And I knew that because I was hypothyroid before and I was on medication for that before. And so he goes, "Starting today, you need to change your diet." And it was the first doctor who mentioned diet because nobody else, he wasn't like, "Here, take this medicine."
Ugh,
It was change your fucking diet
that
or
must
you're
have
going to go
been
back.
such a relief.
I legit couldn't stop crying. And he goes, he had these like vitamin C like lollipops and he's like, "Here, take one of these." Because it was like the Yum Earth ones. They were like the good ones.
Yeah.
And yeah, and he was just so calm because he understood. So
this
going
guy is
forward,
like, dude, this must like you're going into this ear, nose, and throat ENT. You're going into
Yes.
this doctor, and you're like in your mind, you're like, you must have been praying, like, I just want to know what's wrong.
Yes.
Right. Like
I wanted answers so bad.
and no one, and like you're being, and I've been through the medical process as well. It's so fucking frustrating. You just want an answer. And I understand there's insurance, there's regulations, there's all that. I get it.
Well, I was at the point I was at, I'll pay out of pocket for anything.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Whatever it is, I'll find the money, I'll pay for it. I don't care.
You just wanted a freaking answer,
Mhm.
right? And honestly, you deserve one,
Mhm.
right? You shouldn't be treated like there's no, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't in the room, and I know like doctors, they have to have their rapport and all that bullshit. But going in there and being like, "Oh, what'd you Google this week?" and all that, that's, I mean, get out of here with that.
Yeah.
But this guy, you came in, he was calm, he thought about the process, and like he just kind of like put it together right away. An older gentleman, younger?
He's older. He's experienced.
Experience
he
counts
knew
for
it too.
so much.
Because his wife had thyroid cancer, so he
Oh,
knew
God
to like
bless him.
check. So I had my ultrasounds, and he found growths on my thyroid,
Oh, geez.
and so I had them biopsied. Thankfully, they were benign, but
Yeah.
he found the nodules on my thyroid and on my lymph nodes. So anytime that I get inflamed, it's always in my neck. My lymph nodes
Yeah.
get super inflamed.
Oh, wow.
My thyroid it affects my voice box, and then my
Yeah.
voice will start to go. So I know for sure if I eat something that I probably wasn't supposed to, or if something was contaminated, I know right away. My immune response is so quick.
Yeah.
So when COVID hit, I was a little nervous in the beginning because I guess COVID it causes inflammation and stuff like that. So someone who gets inflammation easily, I was like, "Oh crap, like if I get it, I'll probably die, blah, blah, blah."
Oh,
So
geez.
at first I was nervous. It was
Yeah.
only like for a month. But then with the masks and stuff like that, I quickly found out that was worse for me than actually going out and being free.
Oh,
So I have
Yeah.
been I'm an anti-masker. I don't give a shit who likes it or not.
I don't wear a
never
fucking
wore one.
mask either.
No. So because I need optimal breathing with an inflammatory disease, you need that. You need
Yeah.
that airflow.
Yeah.
So when you have that mask on and you're breathing in just hot air and your own breath and your own
Ugh.
everything,
Yeah.
it was causing an immune response to me. I was getting very inflamed.
Oh,
It was making me worse. So
Jesus.
we were only like 3 weeks into COVID when it first started. And I was like, fuck that. I'm not wearing a mask. I didn't.
Yeah.
From that point on, unless I got forced to in like a hospital, I don't wear one.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Yeah.
And my kids don't wear them. I just don't listen. If COVID takes me, then it takes me, but at least
You did it your fucking
I did
way.
it
Yeah.
right because it was making me worse.
Yeah. If
Had-
you're getting a growth out of your fucking neck from this mask,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, don't worry
no,
about it.
mm-mm.
Also, the mask is supposed to protect other people from other. So like,
Right.
if you're fine, you're fine.
I do want to say when I changed my diet, within 5 days of changing my diet, a lot of my symptoms started going away.
No.
Just cutting out gluten, dairy, soy, eggs, all of that stuff.
And you were never like, I mean, as far as I've known you, you weren't pigging out on pizza and cake all the time anyway, right? Like, I mean, I know the cake thing,
yes,
but
I was. So
I guess I got the wrong idea.
I was and I still am such a foodie.
Sure.
And I was, you know what my problem was? I was a binge eater and I was a yo-yo dieter.
Yeah.
So I would yo-yo, meaning I would eat super clean and work out and lose weight, and then I would binge. And that's what really, I think my system got sick of my shit. And
they were like, clean it up or get the fuck out.
And I think my system I was in the middle while it happened. I was in the middle of a binge. And I would go through, like, because of my diet and the autoimmunity, I would go through stages of depression because of the responses that I was getting.
Yeah.
So I would eat a pint of Haagen-Dazs every single night, and I would kill the pint and a bag of cookies. And, so one night my body just, like, Jordan and I were watching Survivor on the couch, and I was nursing Mabel, and a huge rush came over me, and I stood up because it freaked me out, and I stood up. And it just progressively got worse from there. It's just out of nowhere. This shit just happens out of nowhere. So when I changed my diet, it was literally, the weight is a bit like the weight coming off. That's great. You know, I feel great. I love the way I look now.
But you wouldn't have minded the weight staying on if you felt better.
Right.
Okay.
I would be as big as this ring and be happy if I didn't feel like that, if I was healthy, but nobody the bigger this ring could ever be healthy. So
God, no. You couldn't fit through the fucking door.
No, yeah. So, which is amazing to me.
Yeah.
And I do see, like, I do feel people who walk around like that because, if I eat a piece of corn, I'm out for like a week. You know?
So I want to talk about this then. Like we said, your new mantra, food is medicine.
Food is medicine.
And honestly, you're not wrong. And the shame is that there are people, like, you live in a great area, you live in Bucks County, and like you do have some resources to like find farm fresh, and even we'll talk about, making your own farm fresh stuff, but also like and we'll talk about, we'll get all of that. But you're not in an area like in the city, like, dude, I'll tell you this, I'm on a freaking food island, right? Like where I'm at in Mayfair, it's like I'm surrounded by pizzerias and hoagies and cheesesteaks and Wawa and like, don't get like there's an Acme and everything like that, but at Acme it's all chemically enhanced and chemically modified stuff. And like, I get it, and I'm not saying there's anything, anything wrong, but you do have to think about that stuff, like that genetically enhanced vegetables. Like, you can't continually eat food that's created in a lab and think that nothing will ever happen. I don't know. That's just my thought.
It's not even like, so you have like the genetically modified, but then you also have farmers who spray their crops that are grown without the genetically modified, but they'll spray them with like pesticides and stuff like that. And you are supposed to clean, your vegetables and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of people don't. And if you don't clean them well enough, and it depends what you're cleaning them with too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
And then your animals too that you're eating from, if your chickens are eating corn, wheat, and soy, you're eating corn, wheat, and soy. So
true.
It goes beyond just, getting an organic chicken.
Yeah.
You have to make sure what it's eating, where it's from. So it goes.
So this really takes a lot of research to.
A lot of research.
So it's a ton of research. You do it like a bunch of shops, but I want to talk about this because, and you've put videos up on your on the Autoimmune with Amber. There's videos, right? And like, or different pictures and like just kind of how you're living. So you're on the farm now, right? You're teaching, and I love this, that you're teaching this to your girls. And I think that is like just the best freaking thing, and I always found, like, especially, I think it's like an Italian, I want to kill that fucking thing. But I don't know if this is more an Italian thing, but I always thought like Italians love gardening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's kind of in your guys' blood a little bit, or in our blood, because I'm Italian now. I didn't know if you know this, but yeah. Whole life thought I was Irish and German. My mom did the 23andMe thing and found out that my grandma had a little thing going on. And I'm part Italian. Hey!
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, I think we just found our gift for this episode.
Yay!
So yeah, so either way, you're living on the farm now, and you're all about the fresh living. Food is medicine.
Mhm.
You have your chickens, right? You have
love
your
my
garden,
chickens.
right? You
Mhm.
love it. You're a mother hen yourself. So tell me the story you told me the other day about your protecting your chickens. What was going on?
All right, you guys. I have 12 chickens. Okay. They started out in my house because you have to start the temperature outside needs to be a certain
Yeah.
like degree before you put them out.
Yeah.
So I've had them in my house, but basically their whole life until they were like nine weeks old. Then you put them out. So we have the chickens out there.
Yeah.
And we have a family of hawks that just circle our property. And we let our chickens free range. So right now we're building a huge run off of the chicken coop.
Yeah.
So that they can free range even more.
Yeah.
Because right now,
like a fenced in kind of area.
yeah, but it's huge. Like they'll have so much
to run
like
around.
They'll be like a true free range, not this like little like coop where you're like a little bit free range.
Yeah.
So
who's putting this together? You and your husband and the kids?
So my grandmother and her husband own the property. They bought the property. There's a rundown barn that they're redoing, and it's like a family thing. We all go, we all harvest, we mow the lawn, we take care of the chickens.
Yeah, it's almost like
we just put our farmer stand up yesterday.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah,
it's almost like a community garden in a way then.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. So
so you're there, you're building the runoff for the chickens.
Yes.
They're gonna have so much room to be free range. And
so right now I go out 2-3 hours a day and I'll stand out there with my chickens just to make sure the hawks don't come, because as of right now there's nothing to protect them from the hawks getting them. So I put many hours in the day just hanging out there with my chickens, and they come up on my lap. They're just like, oh my gosh, they're my everything.
Yeah.
So the hawks really started coming, and they do their call, and let me tell you something. If a hawk comes down, and I tell this to everybody, I will grow my wings.
Yeah.
Those hawks, I swear to God, I asked there was a police officer like in our neighborhood yesterday, and I was like, how illegal is it to shoot these things? And he goes, it's pretty illegal. but if we don't see it, then I mean, if you don't get caught, then I'm like, listen, because they're coming down. So
they're circling,
they
right?
started hovering. Like they would just be in the distance hovering.
Yeah.
But now I just scream to Marty is one of, one of our people, one of our family members on the property. And he, I screamed for him like, Marty, because the hawks came diving down, and it's myself with 12 chickens, and I'm trying to get them in the coop in time because they're just coming. Yeah. And then 2 more came, and now there's 5 of them. And
5 hawks.
There's 5 hawks now, and they just come. They know. So he comes out. My daughter comes out with this big ass broom, and she's flying. She's swinging it in the air.
Oh, I fucking
it was
love
just
that.
like, it was a nightmare. So they know now. My kids know. Like they're like, Mommy, a hawk is right there, and I'm like, where? And I don't see it, but I heard it.
Yeah.
And they come, and they're trying to get my chickens, but not today, Satan. No. Not today.
Yeah, not on Amber.
Yeah, so we had to. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You know what's so I was at the zoo with my daughter over the weekend, and they had a bald eagle there, and one of the questions asked is how far a bald eagle can see. So apparently bald eagles can see up to a mile clearly. Right. And then after a mile, it gets a little foggy, but that's incredible to me that they can see a mile. I'm assuming a hawk has incredible eyesight as well. I don't know.
They're similar from what I hear, and they would be up high. So they can see what we're doing, and they can see us from, I don't even know how they know when I let my chickens out, because they're not in sight. And I know where their tree is. It's super far away. Yeah. So they can see it. Like they have their eye on us constantly now. And it's so frustrating because
okay, so we'll say this too. First day the other day,
we got our first. So out of the 12 chickens, our one Dottie, she started laying, and now today will be number 7. So a week ago. So we're hoping all the other chickens start following. Different breeds start laying at different times. Sure. So yeah, now we have 7. I'll go and pick the 7th one today, but
So you'll have. Oh wow.
So eventually we'll
the
have a dozen
7th
a day.
But they lay an egg a day.
Every 24 hours they regrow an egg.
Shut the hell up.
Every 24 hours. I know this fly.
It's fucking fly.
So
wow. So
and the other thing is
wait. Hold on. Old
Mhm.
Uncle Matty here is a little. I didn't know it was that many. So
Mhm.
so they wow. So you have 12 chickens, right? How do they get impregnated?
They don't. So
Oh.
chickens. So the only way a rooster comes in, and we're not allowed to have a rooster where we are, because of like the noise and everything.
Oh, I see.
But a rooster is there for a couple reasons. One being protection, but the other really cool fact that I loved about a rooster is it decreases with a rooster present. It decreases 50% of the cholesterol in eggs. So with a rooster there, it takes away 50% of the cholesterol, which I thought was really cool.
How does it do that?
Just there. It just.
I wonder if it's like a stress factor.
So with the rooster, they can't hatch into chicks without a rooster because the rooster isn't fertilizing. Like they don't have the rooster there. So a hen will just this fly.
If I could fucking CGI him out, I would.
But this so chickens, just hens, they grow an egg every 24 hours. And and you need to make sure their shells stay hard so that we give our chickens are very well fed. We don't do the corn, wheat, soy thing. We don't, so
you can't.
No, because I'm going to eventually, when I reintroduce foods back into my system, like eggs, it's going to be from my chickens. And it won't be the egg whites. A lot of people think like, oh, I'm eating egg whites, that's the healthy thing for me. It's the other way around, people.
Really?
Yeah. So if I were to eat egg whites right now, it would cause me to have an autoimmune response. It's the egg yolk.
How so? Like, what's in the egg white that's so?
So it's not the egg white, or the egg yolk has all of the nutrients, where the egg white tends to store the things that cause the inflammation. So if you're feeding chickens like the soy and the corn, those nutrients, it's not even nutrients. They're not nutrients. People think that it's good for you, but it's not. That seems to store in like the white part of it. Where the yolk has all of the healthy nutrients. That's like where, if they're free ranging, that's where all the bugs go, and all of like the healthy proteins from like mealworms and grubs and just like all the natural things. So
so now you can't eat eggs, but eventually you will be when the chickens start laying heavy. Why is that?
That's what my reintroduction process is going to be.
Okay.
If I'm going to reintroduce eggs, it's going to be from my chickens who I know are being fed a very, very healthy, organic, pure diet without all of the additives or anything like that.
What's going to be great too is that, like you're saying, you're not going to eat 12 eggs a day.
No.
And you're going to have some eggs stored, but you're going to be able to provide eggs for other autoimmune people in your community as well.
Right.
That's
and not only that, when people come to me and say like my joints hurt and this hurts, and or if they have like RA, like the rheumatoid arthritis, or if they have lupus or something like that, and the first thing I ask them is, do you eat a lot of eggs? And they'll be like, a lot of them will be like, I eat a lot of eggs. I'll be like, cut out eggs for 7 days, and then or start at 30 days, then go down to like 7 days just to see where it's at. And it's amazing the response, because eggs cause a lot of joint inflammation. If you eat a lot of eggs, it causes a lot of inflammation in your joints. So if anybody is struggling with like joint aches, or like your fingers are sticking, or behind your kneecaps hurt, or something like that, try cutting out eggs for 30 days and see how your body responds, because it's just crazy how some of these foods affect your body.
Because I mean, let's be honest, especially in the fight game, eggs are your freaking life.
They're essential. So
you need the protein. It's a good, like, my whole life I've been taught eggs are a good protein. Right?
And they are good source of, the yolk is a good source of protein. But a lot of the inflammation that you're getting is going to be coming from the whites and the inflammation in your joints. That's what's going to cause your joints to stick. So man, that's just more great information that you found out on yourself by doing research. Yes.
See, so like, I will say this, Amber, as long as I've known you, you've been very driven but very respectable. You hold yourself very well. And I've always, very much admired that about you. When you were met with adversity with this, and this isn't the 10th time you've been met with adversity in your life, but when you were met with this adversity, it was very, very tough and very trying on you and your family. But you've made this almost like a life mission and a passion. And honestly, and some people, like, in a way it would seem selfish that you want to figure this out for you, but you're not. You're figuring this out because the community that you found with the autoimmune was able to save your life, and you want to give back to that community, and you're doing everything you can for like research, and even you're growing your own vegetables and you're making your own egg, like you're having your own chickens make your own eggs, so like these things will be good for autoimmune people in your community and yourself. And I can't tell you how respectable and how great that is, and how that's what makes the world a great place, is people like you and your community and everything like that. And I can't thank you enough, and I admire very much what you're doing. And hopefully, hopefully just, food is medicine. I'm with you on that. And, I hope that this just becomes like just such a great thing. And the more people you help, the better. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, all right, we're coming to the top of time, right? Before we go, I want to shout out, we're going to have a ton of stuff in the description of this, and you should check it all out. We're going to have Amber Ray cakes. We're going to have Autoimmune with Amber. We're going to have Cakes Uncorked, right? Where, that's now that COVID's done or winding down, you can have like a nice, like, girls' night out with Cakes Uncorked, right? And then we're going to have all your social media and everything like that on there in the description as well. I would stress to everyone, check it out. Also, we'll have a link to the gym that we're sitting in there. Why the hell not, right? Renzo Gracie PA Academy in Hatfield. But we're going to have all those links and everything available. Amber, I'll tell you what, man, this is a historic day for the Working Perspectives podcast. This is the first in-person live interview that we've done. I hope everything goes well.
Hope we look great.
Yeah. With this canvas, it's not hard to paint a masterpiece, but no, I can't thank you enough for doing this. And I know Pete's not here to ask, but I know he'd be on the same page. We would love to have you back on if you'd be willing to
Absolutely. Yeah. We can go more in depth too.
There's
so much to talk about.
I wouldn't be surprised if we have an offshoot of this with Autoimmune with Amber, something along those lines.
That would be great, because I do a lot of alternatives, like for cakes, the watermelon cake.
Yeah. I saw that. Beautiful. And like, like this thing, it does affect your life, but it doesn't rule your life. And you found a way to fit this in, still have a great life and a healthy life, and make sure, you're okay.
In control.
Yeah. And it's not ruining and pushing you down a hole, right? You're able to stay here and like enjoy your life and your family and everything like that, and live the way you want and be healthy.
I will say I still have setbacks.
Sure.
I still go through flares.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I can, I have a grasp on it, and I can kind of understand where it's coming from and what I can do to adjust.
When you do have a flare, is it like, going into it like, okay, I'm going to try this, there might be a flare?
Yep.
Okay. So
or if I have a flare and I didn't know it was coming, I kind of know how to adjust what I'm doing to get myself back on track. Sometime with the hormonal things, I can't do that so much, because you can't really I don't know.
Yeah,
you can't control your like my menstrual cycle. I can't control that. So I get flares from my menstrual cycle. I can't control that.
God,
so it's
that's rough.
But as far as like food, lifestyle choices and exercise, whether it be too much exercise or not enough, I can control that.
Yeah.
So
and you do a great job, and your transformation, everything, and the way it's changed your life. But a lot of people would really crawl into a corner and say, woe is me, and like not be able to handle this. But you've taken this on and really like made this your part of your life and your family, and really built a lot around this. And I think that just speaks to your personality and who you are. And I can't commend you enough for this. And I'm and the Work Perspectives podcast would love to do anything we can to help the Autoimmune Society.
Yes.
So that being said, we're coming to the top of time. Before we go, is there anything you want to say to the listeners before we take off?
I just want to thank you for listening, and I hope even if this helps one person, then that just makes it all worth it.
Agreed.
even, some people don't realize that they maybe have an autoimmune disorder. So if you have any of these symptoms like brain fog or joint pain, or you're tired all the time, or you're bloated,
depression,
anxiety comes from the gut. So, so there's a lot of things. If you're on anxiety medications, I always tell people, get your gut checked. And if you've been on anxiety medications for years, you can hopefully fix that by fixing your gut health, because that's where it stems from. So
and a lot of people don't know that. And
but don't be afraid to get checked out, seek specialists,
and they can find information in places to find other information on Autoimmune with Amber as well. So if you do have some questions, you want to dive a little into it, it's a great place to start, is Autoimmune with Amber.
Just never give up. Don't ever give up. If you don't like what your doctor's saying, go to the next one. You can fire your specialist. You can fire your doctors. I've fired many of them, and I found ones that, have saved my life. So.
And don't let yourself be taken for granted either. And, what did you Google now bullshit? That should, that don't ever let that happen.
Listen to your body.
Because your body will tell you. I firmly agree with that. So great. Well, all right, Amber, can't thank you enough. This was a fucking blast. This is the first in-person interview. You fucking nailed it. I know this is going to be a big hit, and really can't wait to have you back on. And, this was so much fun. Can't thank you for everything. And once again, this is the Working Perspectives Podcast. I'm Matt Lavelle. She's Amber Stiner. You can find all our information, everything in the description for Amber A Cakes, Autoimmune with Amber, Cakes Uncorked, and everything like that will be in the description of this episode. You can find all the Working Perspectives Podcast content on all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Working Perspectives Podcast, and hang out with us on the Twitter and the TikTok at Working P Pod. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, then please email us at workingperspectives@gmail.com. All right, this is the end of the episode. Stick around for the ad read and the song by Randy Latta. All right.
My brother.
That's right. All right. Thanks for listening. Have a good one. See you. Do you have a message or a story inside of you that you've been waiting to tell? Have you always dreamed of writing a book, but are intimidated by the complexities of the book publishing world? Perhaps you want to use a book to launch your public speaking or consulting career. If so, please reach out to Scott and Bell Publishing, located right here in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Scott and Bell Publishing handle all genres and authors with all experience levels. Scott and Bell Publishing gives authors 100% creative freedom and a higher royalty split. They can be found at www.skotbell.com. That's www.s as in Sam, K as in Kite, O as in October, T as in Tom, B as in Boy, E as in Edward, L as in Larry, L as in Larry.
It's all objective to be effective by voicing societies. Working perspective, exploring your day and how you get paid. Launching a new episode every Tuesday. Your day can transform while we inform, with new episodes available on every platform. So check out our vibe and how we get live, then do us a solid. Share and subscribe. Would you share it? Would you share it? Would you share it? Working Perspectives.
.com. That's Scott and Bell Publishing, where the authors go.